Dr. Cruzado, thank you for joining us here today. And it's amazing, 15 years here in
Yes.
Montana Hall, helping grow Montana State University's impact across the state of Montana. What does it feel like sitting here today looking that the spring semester is close to wrapping up? And it wouldn't be spring if it wasn't snowing outside either here. But what are you feeling right now as we sit down?
Well, it's what can I say? It's been the honor of my life to serve Montana State. And the best part of it is that every day still feels fresh, right? Like it's the first day in office and there are all these wonderful opportunities, these wonderful people that we need to serve. And so it's a mix. It's a mix of fulfillment, satisfaction, but also at the same time the same restlessness that the job is not done and we have so much to accomplish.
Well, as we rewind a little bit,
Yes.
leading up to when you first came to campus
Mm-hmm.
to interview and ultimately become Montana State University's president, let's talk about how you became Dr. Waded Cruzado. Let's talk a little bit about your upbringing in Puerto Rico
Yes.
and how you became a true child of
Yeah.
the land university system.
Well, the the story is very simple. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. For perspective, Puerto Rico's area is 100 miles by 35 miles. So it will fit about 42 times inside the state of Montana. I'm the oldest of four siblings. Grew up in a city in the westernmost part of the island, and its claim to fame is that that place is the home of the land grant university, the sister institution to Montana State. And so very early on, my parents, you know, talked about the importance of me going to college and attending that university, although neither one of them ever had an opportunity to go to college. And years later, I was thinking as to what was the difference between my parents and I? And I need to say, my mother was very intelligent. My father was a very hardworking man. And then it made me realize it's not about intelligence or hardworking or grit. It's about someone gave me an opportunity. And so I decided to devote my life to ensure that no other young man or woman like my parents were at a certain time is ever deprived of an opportunity to go to college, because I can tell it changes your life. And so move forward. I was lucky enough to go to the local land grant university, pursue doctoral studies, and then come back to Puerto Rico and teach in that same university until 2003, when then I accepted the invitation from another land grant university, New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I was serving there in different capacities as dean, provost, interim president, and then one good day I received the call about President Jeff Gamble stepping down, announcing his retirement, and the fact that Montana State University wanted to have a conversation with me. And that's it.
Did you have any hesitation at all?
Tons. I had tons of hesitation. First of all, the simple ones, right? Like, I really don't like moving, right? And after 6.5 years in New Mexico, I had grown roots. I had people that I knew and cared about. Um, and so I thanked the person who called me. That person called me a month later and gladly announced that I had been nominated for the presidency of Montana State. And then the obvious lane, right? I said, well, from Puerto Rico, which is 98% Latino, I wonder what's the Latino population in Montana. And back at the time, it was 2%. And I declined the nomination again. And this individual called me again. And I remember telling him, I have never been in Montana. I don't look like anyone there. I don't sound like anyone there. I was thinking, right? A woman, Latina, 5 feet tall, speaks with an accent, all these things, right? And I remember asking him, what do you see in me that I'm not seeing? And what he said was, well, your experience with land grant universities, your commitment to students, and we're looking for someone with a lot of energy. Well, I said, on that note. And that's how it happened. I was the last person to apply, candidate number 59. And once I walked in here, that was it. That sealed the deal, particularly when I met the students of Montana State.
So 59 candidates.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good.
And so from
And if I can,
yeah.
Lila Taylor was in that search committee.
Oh, Lila and Wadi, great,
Oh my goodness,
great
Lila,
ranchers and leaders
great,
here in the state.
amazing, amazing people.
And as we look at that, though, too, I think that leads into when you took this position and officially started in the spring of 2010. Correct? Was that you started in the spring?
It was January the 4th, 2010.
And so, as you look at that opportunity to engage with those individuals that were on the committee to hire the next president, and then engage with them and their concerns and maybe questions they had, what was your vision for the university? How would you follow the land grant mission? How important has it been that stakeholder engagement?
Yep.
Whether they went to MSU,
Yep.
maybe they're extension participants, how important has that stakeholder engagement been?
That was crucial. Two things I will mention. Number one, coming in, first thing I tried to do was to have this listening and learning sessions. And these were between 90 and 2 hours long. And we had a total of 32 of those listening sessions throughout the entire state of Montana. I think one very important thing as president of the Land Grant University is to get out, be seen, leave Bozeman behind, and get to engage, right, with your constituents. And that's why 2 years later we started the President's Bus Tour, which lasted for 10 years. And at the conclusion of those 10 years, I can look at you, Lena, and say, I have been in every county of the state of Montana. I have sat down at cafes. I have visited people, in their homes, in senior centers. They have opened their doors. I have eaten buns with cheese whiz and olives, right? And listen to people and get to know them in their environment. And it was, I think that those two experiences cemented my vision for Montana State and what was possible.
Well, and with MSU being the land grant, the state has different needs.
Yes.
It has agricultural needs. Yes. It has rural issues as well that maybe aren't directly involved with agriculture. It has tribal nations that are a part that fall under the umbrella of the land grant university. How important is it to shine a light and listen to the needs and help address the needs and help create more of a foundation for all these different areas that the land grant truly does cover?
Yeah, I truly believe that that's part of our mission. And as you said, and we try to combine that in the President's Bus Tours by having a theme. And that theme was an immersion on the local economy, getting to know what are the economic drivers of the state. So we partner with Extension. So in every of those visits that we would do over 3 days every summer for 10 years, right, we will get to know, so what is it that makes this community thrive? And so in our themes, that was reflected. Those tours were named Follow the Grain, Follow the Beef, Follow the Energy, Follow the Tourism, Follow the Healthcare. And you can go down the list as to how is this state vibrant? And then the question is, what's our responsibility to ensure that we continue to partner with those communities, with those local needs, and make sure that we prepare the next generation of farmers, of ranchers, of professionals that will continue to enhance and bless this place.
And really, that shines the light on the importance of making decisions that reflect the needs of the state at the same time, because Western Montana has different needs from Eastern Montana.
Totally.
And, I look back to the fall of 2010 when I first came to campus as a freshman, and we had the stats pulled on there. There was 13,559 students. What's the current enrollment now?
We have 17,144 students. So, for the record, let the record know, Montana State University has been the first university in the entire state to cross the mark of 16,000 students and 17,000 students. So after 132 years of existence, here we are. We're so lucky.
How did that happen?
How did that happen? with a lot of work, with a lot of help. I think two important measures, and people think it's about going out and recruiting a lot of students. Yes and no. I think what helped us a lot was to focus on retaining the students that had chosen Montana State University first. We know that those students were qualified. We know that those students had what it takes. But it is very easy, right, to think, well, you sink or you swim and that's it. And sometimes what we just need to do, right, is pay attention to how do you keep those students here. In other words, no good business can ignore the loyal customer, right? And no good business will thrive if they keep losing 30%, 40% of their business partners. So that was exactly what we did. How did we do that? It's funny. It was not about lowering standards, but on the opposite, with a very simple thing like how many credits per semester are students taking? And I was very interested in that question because the state has an incentive for every public campus that's in the state, and that is students only pay for the first 12 credits. The problem was that the name that we were using, Lane, and you know this in your business, that incentive was known as the flat spot. Ladies and gentlemen, tell me if you're excited about participating in anything that's flat, right? So we decided, well, let's change that because at the time, only 40% of our students were taking advantage of it. Only 40% of students were enrolled in 15 credits or more. And you need to complete 120 credits to get your baccalaureate. So the math was not there. So we decided to create a mini campaign, and good faculty member by the name of Sarah Rushing gave me the name for it. It's called the Freshman 15 program, which is not only about the additional pounds that will go around your waistline, but about the additional rigor that will go into your class schedule. Fast forward, what happened? That has been our key to keep students in school, because the research tells us students that enroll in more credits actually do better academically. So what happened? Our 6-year graduation rate went up by double digits, and actually we doubled the 4-year graduation rate. So, and then the good word starts going out there that Montana State University is a place where you can come, get a very fine education, graduate on time with less debt or no debt at all. That was it.
And also working with department heads as well
Yes.
that want to be on board with that vision and
Yes.
work with students. How has that process been in the last 15 years, working with deans, with department
Yes.
heads, and really looking at the overall objective is to get students through college with less debt and to make them
Yep.
better people and get them out into society?
Absolutely. I need to say, first of all, we have the best faculty and the best staff in the whole wide world. And at the beginning, it was a little bit of a change, right? Because we had fallen in the national conversation of, when freshmen were approaching us, we would say, Lane, take it easy. Take it easy your first semester, just enroll in 12 credits. Well, what happened is something went wrong your first semester and you were a Pell recipient, you would end up losing your Pell help. And if nothing else, at 12 credit every semester, you were not going to be able to graduate in 4 years. And so in many conversations, Lane, you ask a good question, and I think that in everything I have been able to do, it's with this. You sit down face to face, let's talk, right? Let's compare notes. Why do you think this worked? Why do I think that may be an adaptation here? And finally, asking for grace, like, give me a chance, let's see if this works. And the numbers were there at the end of it, and now we're all into it.
And also, we were outside walking around campus today as well, seeing some of the new infrastructure, taking in the beauty of campus too, like Montana Hall. How has that also been a way to get students to come and look at these different degree options, but also to engage with alumni
Yeah.
and stakeholders to help create this infrastructure.
Yeah.
We were just in the Jabs building too. Jake Jabs, College of Ag graduate,
Yep.
helped to create a strong foundation for MSU's business
Yeah.
department. How important has that been in helping create infrastructure and space and more
Yeah.
opportunities for education?
Absolutely. That has been essential. And one very early lesson that I received was how engaged our alumni base is. And hats off to Jake Jabs, right? From very humble origins and a very successful individual. And then he made that beautiful building happen. Same thing with Norm Asbjornsen, right? From Winifred, Montana, very humble origins. And take a look at the incredible building for engineering that he has built. So in those two examples right there, you can see, right, the history of the land-grant university, where it's open to everybody, irrespective of background or academic preparation. And then they go out in the world and they become great citizens and professionals. But the story doesn't end there. Neither Norm nor Jake or so many thousands of alumni, they have forgotten about how they made it there. And so there's that sense of gratitude and they wanted to come back. Beyond that, again, if you remember, our very first project was the end zone, right? Because I thought it would be important to give campus a jolt of energy and to what is that event that brings together, right, folks on Saturday fall afternoons, and you can have this multi-generational where you have the students and the alumni and the parents, everybody together, and it works amazing. It has been a great blessing.
What was it like working with the legislature for a few sessions on some of these priorities?
I I love the legislature. Well, first of all, I have always said that the majority of legislators are bobcats. And it is my plan that in the future that continues to be that case as more and more individuals graduate from Montana State University, and we cement that civic duty in their minds that you need to go out and do it right. It was it was great. Perhaps the most challenging project was the funding of Romney Hall. I recognize I was asking for something very difficult because in their minds, some folks thought that I was trying to renovate a gem, right, and bring it back to what it was. And the concept of, no, we're going to take this hero building that sits in the heart of campus and we're going to transform it into current needs. So in the way it used to be when I first arrived in 2010, it was fairly dilapidated. We could only use 2 classrooms. We were teaching about 145 students per hour in classrooms with no ventilation, no AC, no nothing. And nowadays, thanks to the incredible support of the Montana legislature, Norm Asbjornsen and other donors, now we serve 1,000 students every hour. Think about it, right? If you come during class time, I mean, you see this constant wave of students going in and coming down. Now these are classroom spaces that honor our past and then look forward to the future.
And obviously, we think of when MSU was started, and agriculture was the focus.
Yep.
And obviously, our land grant mission includes extension, ag research. How has that been, learning about agriculture and the role that our experiment stations play in the state's #1 economy? What has that experience been like here in your tenure?
It has been amazing because for me, that's the ethos of this state. If you want to understand its people, sit down, get to learn about agriculture and what it means for them and the way of life, right, that it instills in our folks. You know me, for 15 years, every time I have a mic in front of me, I talk about the importance of the land grant mission and its history, right? Like we as a nation did something that no other country in the world ever attempted, and that is to open the doors of access to higher education to the sons and daughters of the working families of America. To create a university that would not only teach the traditional programs, but have a focus on agriculture and engineering. And look what we did, right? And we did it right in the middle of a civil war. I always like to say, right, that it needed an act of Congress to start changing the face of America in higher education. And no sooner we opened this new brand of colleges than we learned, well, we didn't have a lot to teach in terms of agriculture. But Congress then came up with the Hatch Act, right, which created our agricultural centers in different geographical areas so that we could study what are the soil needs, what are the climate needs, right? And then whatever we discussed there, then we were able to apply in our classrooms. But then, what about those individuals who were not coming to the university? And that was 1914, the Smith-Lever Act, that gave us this wonderful beauty of extension, so that we could extend what we have learned in the field, what we were teaching in the classroom, to the farmer and the rancher out there on how to maximize profit and yield. So it's a beautiful concept, and I'm so proud of it.
Uh, we've seen some changes also in the College of Ag.
Yes.
The elevation, not just Dean of the College of Ag, but Vice President of Agriculture. For our viewers that are hearing that maybe for the first time, Vice President of Agriculture, what is that? And how important is it for the state's agriculture
It
community?
is very important, and this was another thing about listening to what our constituents were saying. So we have many of our producer associations. We had individuals that were very prominent, right, in the state. And good grief, I remember many conversations with Taylor Brown, with David Kelsey, about how we needed to elevate that, how it was so crucial for the interest of the agricultural sector to have literally a seat at the table in the president's cabinet. And I meet with my cabinet every single morning, 10 minutes standing up, going around the circle. But in my cabinet, I have the vice president for agriculture and I have the MSU director of extension. We never forget who we are. We never forget how the impact of our decisions are going to have a spill down effect in our agricultural sector. So it was very well received. It was for me to say, I listened to you, and it has been a wonderful addition to Montana State.
Now, we've also seen growth not only of campus-wide enrollment, but also the College of Agriculture too.
Yes, yes.
And that's exciting.
It is a very vibrant college, and I love it because we have been able, by keeping a very healthy balance, by keeping and strengthening those academic programs, right, that individuals in everywhere in the state associate with Montana State University. I'm thinking about some of our Angus producers, right, where we have multi-generations of individuals who all have come here for our programs, but also being innovative as to, so what's in the future? And that is the future, the exciting future about precision agriculture. We invited our vice president of agriculture who had experience doing the same thing at University of North Dakota State University, and that's what we, with the help of the alumni, with the legislature, the legislature, thanks to Lou Jones, just recommended 2 faculty lines for precision agriculture, and that's the future. So we need to do both, and that's why I'm so excited to see our young students knowing that they have a viable future in agriculture.
And we've seen growth in ag experiment station
Yes.
funding and projects, but also research as a whole in our different colleges.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's interesting. When I first arrived, if you remember, research expenditures were around $98 million. Last year, they went all the way to $257 million. And that gives me great satisfaction because that is another way in which we're listening to our constituents' needs. And, they bring forward what about these incredible problems that we're having, and thanks to research we have the capacity, we have the people, we have the facilities to make sure that we provide them with accurate and precise information.
Now, balancing the expansion in the number of students and Montana's needs, there has been a little bit of criticism in terms of the balance of in-state students and out-of-state students coming to campus. How do we ensure that Montana State University continues to educate the sons and daughters
100%.
of the citizens of Montana, but also provide those opportunities for out-of-state students? Because there has been a little bit of criticism over that.
Yep, 100%. We're committed to that. I tell my cabinet several times, let's never forget that the first word in our name is Montana. And I'm happy to say, right, that even with the growth that we have experienced with the out-of-state interest, we have more Montana students than any school in the state by a whole lot, right? About over 10,000 students come from Montana. But we want to make sure that we keep it that way. One of the things that out-of-state students help us is to subsidize our Montana resident students, because the allocation that we receive from the state is not sufficient to pay for the education cost of Montana residents. So the out-of-state students pay over 3 times what the tuition cost that our resident students bring. And so that is the cross-subsidy model that we're using so that we can keep that tuition low and affordable and accessible. The last thing I will say is, I look back in our history, right? We were established thanks to a congressional act that was passed on July the 2nd, 1862, signed by President Abraham Lincoln, right in the middle of a civil war. And one of the things that we wanted to accomplish, in addition to prepare those future agricultural experts and engineering experts, when you read the literature, one of the goals was also to cement and strengthen democracy. And so in that sense, I'm very proud about our growth, because we need Montana residents and we need students from every state in the nation to make sure that we protect and defend and strengthen American democracy.
And we've talked a lot about, too, your engagement with stakeholders and alumni, but your interaction with students, having an open ear, being able to approach them, or vice versa, them being able to approach you. I don't want to make this all about me, but I just reflect on one of the first meaningful conversations I remember having with you when I was an undergraduate student, and that was during the Pizza with the Prez.
Yes.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, we've sunsetted it recently. Yeah.
But the Pizza with the Prez, I mean, you had a boxes of pizza that were taller than you rolling into the Animal Range Science Building there. And you just wanted to hear from students. Yep. You wanted to get to know them. And I believe I was president of the College of Ag Student Council at the time. And several students, Ricky Merrill Swant, who I just talked to at the hotel this morning, we were all kind of in a circle. And all of us were past FFA members, and we all agreed that our first exposure, other than being Bobcat fans or having family that went here, was coming to MSU Ag Days.
Yes.
That former FFA and some 4-H participation. The last year that was held was in the fall of 2010 when I was a state FFA officer. Mm-hmm. And the College of Agriculture sunsetted that. There was a whole lot of issues on why that went away. But the students brought that up to you.
Yep.
And I don't know if that was the first time you'd heard it. I'm sure it wasn't. But it was so meaningful to those of us students to know that a university president listened to that.
Yep.
And then a committee was formed.
Yep.
And we had meetings. We had FFA. We had alumni, Dave Kelsey in there, Bill Jimerson in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just an example of, again, you listening to the concerns of students, not just faculty, not just stakeholders. How important has that been to have that open ear and to listen to the concerns?
That has been essential. As I mentioned to you, when I first came to my interview, you meet with faculty in one section, with alumni in a different section with staff, and then there was this meeting with students. And this is no exaggeration. I was blown away by the questions and the interface with those students. The most difficult questions that I heard during that interview process came from the students of Montana State, which told me, right, they know what they're doing. They have an eye on their future. Secondly, one of the things that I loved the most, ever since I mean, from my very first days, I would walk around campus and students will go, "Good morning, President Cruzado. How are you, President Cruzado? Can I walk with you?" And you saw it today, right? And it's like that all the time. And I think it's so essential for the president to be accessible, not to be this anonymous individual, right, enclosed in an office in the administrative building, but you will never know and you will never learn if unless you approach those students. Those students that approach me about FFA, look what we have done, right? You have benefited so many generations of hopefully future Bobcats, but if not, individuals who will see will take another look at their universities with a different set of eyes, and that will benefit everybody. The last thing I will say, last fall, I was walking around campus coming from a meeting, and there is this student circle, and they're playing hacky sack. And so I waved and I said, "No, you come and play with us." So there I went. I went and play hacky sack with them. It's so essential, and it's true. Our students are our future.
And continuing off of FFA, there it is a recruiting tool,
It
as
is
I
a
mentioned.
recruiting tool.
Because when I was an FFA member, we came to MSU Ag Days, we came to convention when it was here too.
Yep.
Because I had siblings that went to Rocky Mountain College, I was looking at going to Concordia or other.
Yep.
I didn't know what path I was going to be on.
Yes.
And it truly was why I came to MSU. I got to be on campus. I got to breathe the air. And so bringing back what is now Ag Expo in the fall,
Yes.
several thousand students,
Yep.
more than what come to state FFA convention, which that is actually going on right now
Right,
too, state
right
FFA
now.
convention.
Uh-huh.
But it's about getting boots on the ground and seeing what this university can provide students. How important has that been though, having that involvement with FFA here on campus?
It's amazing. Lane, I remember there's another powerful reason. I remember meeting this boy early on, and we were talking about his chemistry class, and he walks in this ginormous hall, and there are 100 students. That can be very intimidating. We were talking before about the importance of retaining students, right? And he told me a phrase that I have never forgot. He said, "President Cruzado, in my hometown, I had never met anyone whom I didn't know." And so it made me realize that it's important for us to lower those barriers, right? That people come like say, "Oh my gosh, Bozeman is so big," or "Montana State is so big." It is important for them to have a friendly face, for them to remember, "Oh, I came here. I came here, right, when I was in FFA, and oh, there was that competition." Or like I saw yesterday, there was this student just practicing, right, her speech. And it's a mutual benefit, I will say, because when we recruit from those communities, when FFA students come here, when our 4-Hers come here, those students are so well prepared. I'm saying this and I'm having goosebumps all over because, they know how to present. I go to their 4-H events. I still remember this presenter. She was like 8 years old, and she was talking to us about how her father one day had to apply ship PR to one of her animals. And it's, we cannot be a stranger. We cannot say we are the university out here so remote. The FFA, the Ag Expos are wonderful tools that we can use to familiarize people. Come to our football games, right? We try to partner also when we have Ag Expo here, so that they can feel this is your university. We are here for you.
Now, you will be honored by the Montana FFA
Yes,
tomorrow.
goodness, yes.
After we've had this conversation with an honorary state FFA degree, the
Oh,
highest
gosh.
honor that the state can bestow. What's a message maybe to the FFA members or the alumni that won't be able to attend that session, the Brick Breeden Field House? How do you feel about getting this recognition?
I feel totally honored. I feel it's overwhelming. because quite honestly, when I set out to do this job, was not looking for recognition or anything. So I did it because I think it's part of the job of the president, and I did it because I think it's essential. We need agriculture now more than ever, right? We need agricultural leaders. We need well-prepared professionals. So this was totally unforeseen, maybe unexpected and maybe undeserved, but it's been the honor of my life to help advance the dreams and the aspirations of FFA.
Well, I think it is very well deserved, and
Thank you.
congratulations on
Thank you.
that. And supporting all students, as you said, making sure that they feel that they can go to school here, they can live here, they can get a degree. I want to highlight the Hilleman program. That is a scholarship program my wife and I are so proud
Yes.
to be donors to, creating opportunities for Montana students. I would have been, I gave a speech one night at one of these scholarship, at the Hillman fundraiser, saying, had I been in school now, I would have been one of these kids. I wasn't the 4.0 student in college. I worked hard. I came from a hardworking ranch family. And how important is it to invest in these students that aren't the Goldwater scholars?
Absolutely. Well, I have news for you.
I mean, they are.
Here's the other thing. It's well, needless to say, it was when we were looking for a way in which we could identify. We already attract the best and the brightest students in the state of Montana. About 70% of all honors high school seniors choose Montana State. We love those students. We want them here. But I have always thought that if we only focus on the best and the brightest, we fall short. We don't fulfill the mission and the promise of the land-grant university. But how is that student in that rural community, right, going to think that Montana State University is a place for them? So that's how we came up with the Hilleman Scholars, specifically addressed to first-generation Montana kids who were not thinking about coming to college, who might think that they are not college material. How do we identify them? We partner with Extension, right? We have a campus, if you will, in every county of the state, and our people in Extension know who those students are. As I always say, they know who is that kid that had that star on their forehead but is not thinking too much about himself or herself. So we said, how do we call it? And we chose Maurice Hilleman, perhaps one of our most preeminent alumni, and also because he came from rural Miles City, very humble beginnings, and his highest aspiration in life was to work at the time the brand new J.C. Penney store. I think he would have been very successful, and that we need J.C. Penney stores. But his uncle saw something else in him, and he drove him in his pickup truck here, right? And thanks to a donor, we're able to find a scholarship because they were not able to afford the $5 credit tuition that we were charging at the time. And what happened then was miraculously, he graduated at the top of his class, #1, pursued doctoral studies at University of Chicago, and became a vaccinologist. Not any vaccinologist, the most prolific vaccinologist in the history of humankind. A kid from Miles City. So we created this program, used Maurice as an inspiration. And what has happened is miraculous, right? The retention rate, the accomplishments of those students outpace the general student population. How do we do that? It's not by lowering standards, but on the contrary, right? Giving them a lot of structure, setting bars very, very high, and just challenging them. Now you go and you get it done, and they have done it. This May, we will be, one of our Hilleman scholars is graduating in medicine from the medical school at the other MSU, Michigan State University. But here's the thing, Lane. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we announced the Goldwater Scholars. You know that Montana State University is ranked at the top of the nation. We have 90 Goldwater scholars. Now we have 92. One of them now, it's a Hilleman scholar.
I'll put my foot in my mouth.
A Hilleman scholar. I mean,
Isn't that great?
a brilliant kid, right? And the math department took him under his wing, and there you go. So it's a beautiful story. What can I say?
And I believe that people can contribute to your legacy through the Hillman program too.
They can. They can. That's how we support that program in large measure, thanks to the generosity of many donors like you, Lane. I have heard that line so many times. I would have been a Hilleman scholar, right? Because I was not your 4.0. I was a run-of-the-mill kid that did not have the focus, and thanks to Montana State, look where I am now.
You know, you mentioned too just having that community for students. We have the new Native American building just right next door here. Part of my family comes from Fort Belknap Indian Reservation. It is vital to provide opportunities for students from reservations and to make them feel that they are at home, surrounded by people that grew up in their communities, because it can be a shift, it can be a change. And I know a lot of Native students are also Hillman scholars too. But how important is it to invest in our Native communities here at MSU?
Well, I give all the credit to my predecessor, Jeff Gamble, working with Dennis Rhodes and Jim Dolan. They came up with this idea almost 20 years ago, and then they set out to, fundraise $8 million for this student center. The idea continued to grow, right, when I arrived, and instead of just a student center, we thought, well, what about if it's an American Indian Hall, right, that brings together classrooms and faculty offices and opportunities for our Native American students to have their own space, but also open to the entire campus, right? So that everybody can come, and any single day, every student can come and learn about their heritage, and so that they can create this wonderful network that will allow every student to be successful. So that has been a great satisfaction, and it's a beautiful building too.
Yep. And I know your staff's going to come barge through the door, so we need to wrap this up. But a few more areas I want to cover, because we wouldn't be talking MSU without talking a little bit about sports and rodeo.
What about those Bobcats?
Oh, first down. As we look at the growth of MSU sports and the success of MSU athletes in the classroom as well, how is that? What is this ride like for you?
Oh, goodness. Yet again, right? I had tons of alumni who reached out to me immediately after I arrived. Some of them were a little bit concerned, right? A woman from Puerto Rico, we don't play American football in Puerto Rico. And kudos to them, to the quarterback club, to so many folks who said, you need to pay attention, right, to Bobcat athletics. And that's what we did, right? Right off the bat with, goodness, the End Zone project was ambitious, raising $8 million in a short period of time. It was a ridiculous timeline because we wanted to have it ready for the next Cats Grizz game. But we did it, Lane. We built that thing in the middle of the winter time, and we raised not $8 million, but $11 million, and it brought us together. And I think that signaled, right, a before and after. If you remember, our football team went on to win 3 consecutive Big Sky championships, and then that energy reverberated throughout the entire program. The other thing that happened, in addition to our wonderful men's and women's basketball, among other sports, because every sport has now, right, incredible stories to tell. Tennis and golf and track and field and ski, but there was rodeo. And then that is something that I really love, because I remember rodeo had a structural deficit when I first arrived. And so we said, well, let's fix this forever. Let's raise $500,000 as an endowment, and you will be able to bridge that gap. Boom. We put together a group, the Magnificent Seven. And the Magnificent Seven outdid themselves, right? These are the Folk Fours and the Hopes and the Butch Bratskys. And they raised not 500,000, they raised $1 million, right? And we became the first endowed rodeo team in the collegiate rodeo in the nation, and we were recognized in Las Vegas, right?
I was there.
I mean,
I was hanging out with Butch and Mike and my parents, and then obviously you were down with Mike Ingram there in the gold buckle
yes,
seats,
absolutely.
and you got an ovation there
Oh my
for your
gosh.
work at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. What was that like?
Oh, that was amazing. And then you want more. And so that more was when athletic director Leon Costello came. We started talking about, well, what about if we bring, and quite honestly, my request was very modest. I just wanted to have a rider, a rodeo rider, right, go around the stadium. But you know how it is. You start talking with rodeo folks, and we can do this and we can do that. And now we have ended up with the most magnificent grand entry of any collegiate football team. I need to say, no matter how many times I see them, I cry every Saturday because and I look around and I'm not the only one. And that made such an impression on ESPN, right? And so when we had College Day here, we had our rodeo team welcoming them, right? Escorting them then here. What a wonderful way to merge those together. And next week, when we open Spring Rodeo, in good reciprocity, right, we will have our football team just opening in grand entry the Spring Rodeo, just trying to run with cowboy boots in the arena. It's a little bit difficult, but it's beautiful.
It is. It just, and it kicks off those football games,
right?
And it's just mirroring two of Montana's greatest passions: bobcat football and rodeo.
Yeah, and it's not only our rodeo team. I mean, my heart is like this because we have had the parents of some of our rodeo team players, right, who were in the rodeo team back in the day, and they have done that as well for us. It's beautiful.
As we wind down our conversation here today, what can you say were some of the biggest challenges that you addressed in your position?
Well, I think irrespective of the time, if you ask any college president, what's in your mind all the time? It's the financial stability of the institution, right? And we have withstood recessions and difficult decisions. Lane, I remember 5 days into my job, I overheard my assistant. She picked up the phone, and the conversation went something like this, like, yes, negative 15 degrees, and 6 inches of fresh snow, and a 5% cut from the governor. Yes. Oh, she's still here. So there have been all these challenges, but here's what I will say. I feel very, very proud that at every turn, we protected our people. I always say, buildings are good, but people come first. So during ups and downs and with state funding or enrollment, we never laid off individuals who had amazing performance or satisfactory performance. I think that mutual commitment galvanizes, right, that we're partners here, and we need for you to welcome those students with an open heart and answer your phone with a smile on your face because people do notice. So those have been difficult challenges that with the help of many, we have been able to surpass.
So the next chapter.
Yes.
As president of the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, you start that career on my birthday, July 1st. What are you looking forward to? What will your role be? Okay. How will you advocate, and not only for Montana State University, but all these institutions?
Well, first of all, that was not the plan. Right? When I announced my retirement, the plan was to retire. But then I was approached by the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, which is the oldest university association in America. And they were searching for a president. And I started to think, I have been preaching about the importance of the land grant university for so long. And I am persuaded that with some of the crisis of higher education, particularly credibility, we have the best story to tell. Public higher education in America, land grant universities are the ones who exemplify, right, the answer to some of the public concerns about affordability and access and viability of academic programs and endowing our students with careers that will allow them to have a fruitful life and to be committed citizens to democracy. So I thought that I needed to answer in the positive. Another reason why we have a very special relationship with APLU, if you can indulge me. When I first arrived, I had an opportunity to travel to Vermont and to go to the homestead of Justin Smith Morrill, the architect of the land grant bill. And there's a little plaque, and it says that upon his death, he died without children. So what happened was the homestead went to private hands. And in the 1960s, a group of 11 land grant universities came together to purchase back that place because of its importance in our history. And I looked at the plaque, and would you believe that Montana State College name was there? One of only 11. Number one. Number two, we had the first Land Grant Act, which opened these beautiful universities to all. Then we had the 1890s, which opened it to African American students. 100 years later, the association put together a task force to explore a third Land Grant Act that will give the title of land grant to tribal colleges. Who was the chair of that task force but Michael Malone, president of Montana State? In it, we also had people like Joe McDonald, alumnus of Montana State, president of Little Bighorn College, right? Alumnus of Montana State University. So I think that we have punched above our weight in terms of presence in this association that will, our role is to support and advocate for public land grant universities that have very strong research portfolios. So if I can contribute something, I will.
So do you get to live in the homestead over in Vermont?
Oh,
I'm
I
joking.
should. Don't give me any ideas.
What advice, or what have been the things you've gleaned over these 15 years as president that will be helpful to the 13th president of MSU coming up?
I remember once reading this quote from an African American tennis player. Her name was Althea Gibson. And she said, every time we accomplish something, someone has helped us. So that would be my advice to the next president. That realization that you will accomplish nothing by yourself. But if you reach out to people, if you listen, if you follow through, if you not only meet with those students, but you say, okay, this is what they want, and you deliver that. If you keep your doors open, and if you have curiosity in your mind and empathy in your heart, those good ideas will come, and people will help you. If you ask for help, nothing is more powerful than when the university president says, I need your help. And that person will be even more successful.
Well, I have one last surprise for you here.
Uh-huh.
We will take just a few minutes here.
Okay.
We have some thoughts that friends and alumni of MSU wanted to share with you.
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
It'll come.
I consider her a friend.
Oh my
She's
God.
been dynamic for just not the Montana State University, but for the ag industry of the state and for education in general. She took the agriculture department to new heights in her tenure at Montana State University. She's been, I've worked with 3 presidents at a Montana State University. By far, she had the most enthusiasm for the land grant university and understood the necessity of it and how important it was. And I only wish her well, and I just tell her I hope she stays in Montana because she's a valuable asset that we claim now.
Wow.
President Cruzado,
Oh, Dean.
there are subtractors in this world, people that try to take from us, and then there are multipliers, people that improve us and add to our own personal value so that we can be better and also be multipliers. You're definitely a multiplier and have set a high example of how we can all contribute, be better, and make this world a better place. You've created more Bobcats than any other person in the history of Montana State. You'll be dearly missed, but we won't forget what you've contributed to this state, our communities, this university, and to all of us as individuals. Thank you for being our president of our university.
Other item I'd like to thank you about is your trip across the state of Montana every summer, taking the deans, the provost, the upper leadership of Montana State University across the state and traveling and getting to know the constituents of the state, as well as giving the extension personnel, the research personnel, and some of the reservations an opportunity to present to the upper leadership of MSU has been tremendous. It's also a great opportunity for members of the state of Montana to get to meet personnel from Montana State University in their hometowns. It's been a win-win scenario and a great educational opportunity for all involved. We're certainly going to miss you here, but we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. And if there's anything we can do to help you with any of that, please let us know. Thank you. Bye.
That's great. Oh, God.
Hey, Dr. Cruzado,
gosh,
first just
look
want
at
to say
that.
congratulations and a heartfelt thank you for an incredible tenure at Montana State. Your achievements are no doubt going to be talked about for generations to come, but what I wanted to say to you today is something that maybe is underreported, and that is the fact that you showed thousands of Montana kids, including me, what true leadership looks like. And that example of showing how to treat people, how to be an authentic leader, how to be a genuine leader, how to lead with joy, and truly love every day that you're in that position. That is an incredible position to have. That I think might be one of your greatest legacies that is underreported. And so I want to say thank you for showing us what great leadership is and for being a great leader for Montana State and for everybody that calls the Big Sky Country home. Enjoy your retirement. Thank you for what you've done.
That's awesome.
Dr. Cruzado, thank you for your unwavering dedication to MSU and the Land Grant University mission. Your fierce advocacy for education for all and your ability to inspire those around you has forever impacted the state I call home. For the last 15 years, you showed us that leadership is about courage, compassion, and never shying away from the challenges ahead. You encouraged young women, myself included, to step forward with confidence, to use our voices, and to believe in our ability to make an impact. Montana State University has been forever changed by your leadership, and so have the lives of countless students, alumni, and community members who've had the privilege of learning from your example. Dr. Cruzado, thank you for your passion, your resilience, and your unwavering belief in the power of education to transform lives.
President Cruzado, Jason Jimerson here. While I have the honor of working with you in support of Montana State University's very successful What It Takes campaign when I was at the Montana State Alumni Foundation, you worked even closer with my late dad, Bill Jimerson, in his time as the state FFA advisor and as an advocate for our agriculture industry to help bring the Ag Expo back to MSU. I wish he were here today to thank you directly, but I'm honored to thank you for your tremendous service on his behalf. My dad was a very proud Bobcat, and I would contend that he was absolutely your number one fan. He appreciated the passion you bring to everything that you do, but I know he appreciated even more your follow-through and ability to get things done. I also know he loved your commitment to educating any and everyone about the moral act, something he taught about as an ag educator, and the importance of MSU being a land-grant institution. On behalf of my dad, the ag education and FFA community, the College of Agriculture, and the entire state of Montana, thank you for your tremendous tenure on what will go down in history as not only one of the most successful tenures of a president in Montana State University history, but one of the most successful presidencies of any president of any university in the United States of America. You've left incredibly large shoes to fill, but thank you for the huge impact that you've had. Best wishes on all your future endeavors, and as always, go Cats.
Dr. Cruzado, thank you. Your 15 years of visionary leadership at Montana State University have forever shaped this institution and the lives of so many across our state and nation. I was a freshman in the fall of 2010, your very first fall at MSU, and selfishly, it feels like part of my college experience is retiring right along with you. But in all seriousness, I'm deeply grateful for your commitment to Montana's agriculture and rural communities, our tribal nations, and to leadership programs like 4-H and FFA. You've lived the land grant mission with purpose and heart, and it's an example we all should try to live by. I'm always going to cherish the initiatives I had the opportunity to work with you on, and of course, those unforgettable bus tours across the Big Sky State. Congratulations on a remarkable career of service. The people of Montana will forever be in your debt. Wishing you the best in the next chapter, and I know that blue and gold will forever run through your veins.
Yep.
Go Cats, go.
That's
We could have kept
beautiful.
that going. I had to shorten a
Can-
few of those for you, but we will provide that to you.
Can you please?
Yep,
Oh,
I will
please.
send that over.
Oh goodness, that was beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I just wanted to. I don't think I could relay that in person right now without getting too emotional. But as we conclude our conversation here today, what is a message you have to the MSU faculty, the students, the alumni, the supporters, the agriculture community, just about your time here and your reflection?
I just need to say thank you, right? Thank you for the opportunity you have afforded me to, the way and manner in which you have opened your arms and your hearts and the doors of your homes, and thank you for teaching me so many powerful lessons. I'm a much better person thanks to you, thanks to Montana State, but particularly thanks to the state of Montana. I was blown away at the minute I arrived, and I said, people in Montana are authentic. What you see is what you get. They're great conversationalists, and they care. I learned in Jordan, Montana, that neighbor is a verb. And I will always remember that as my parting gift from Montana. This is an amazing place. This is your university. Make sure that you reach out, you hold our feet to the fire, because what we're doing here is precious. We're building the future of America, starting in the Treasure State. Thank you. Go Cats, go.